Hello everyone and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another 24/7 news report. But before we get started with that, of course, the sad news that Kevin Campbell has passed away, the former Arsenal, Everton, Nottingham Forest striker, scored the goals to keep us up legendarily in the late 90s. But outside of that, a great man, someone who always had time for his former clubs, someone who was a constant source of positivity. And everyone here at the Toffee Blues, and of course all Everton fans in general, would like to wish Kevin's family the best during these really hard times, and rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. But getting into the news today anyway, Roma owner Dan Friedkin is expected to be granted exclusivity by Farhad Moshiri in the next 24 to 48 hours. That comes from Sky Sports News, but we've got a lot to talk about with Friedkin today, since it looks like he's going to be the one granted some exclusivity. The Friedkin Group, the Texas-based owner of Roma, have emerged as strong favourites to buy Everton after agreeing a deal in principle to complete the takeover. That's from The Athletic. And from Telefootball, The Telegraph, Dan Friedkin is said to have presented an all-equities offer which turned Moshiri's head. Yeah, from what I've read about Friedkin, Roma fans seem to be very in the middle of him. It seems to be a Kroenke style of ownership where they want to focus on stability first before they start to spend the money. You have seen Roma bring in big names like Paulo Dybala and Romelu Lukaku on loan, big managers like Jose Mourinho, but you've also seen that Friedkin's clearly willing to make difficult decisions, sacking Mourinho when the club wanted their best, bringing in Daniel De Rossi, who was able to stabilise the ship and really help Roma towards the end of the season. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a smart move, sorry. I think it's one of those where this isn't an owner who's going to come in and pump money like a Saudi or a Qatar group. This is one where it's going to be more of a slow burn, someone who's going to stabilise the club, but I do think that's what Everton need right now. And I do think more information will come out on Friedkin during this exclusivity period. But also it has been mentioned that Friedkin must come up with an initial sum of £200 million, which will pay off the £158 million loan and provide working capital of £30 million for the club. That's from Paul Joyce. So of course he still has to provide these funds first, and with Everton's luck with the whole 777 thing, it won't surprise me if this money magically disappears. But it does look like Friedkin's going to be the man, and hopefully Friedkin can bring us what we need. For a long time, this club's been run by someone who doesn't have a clue how to operate football. Friedkin's group clearly has some experience, and it's the one advantage of being put into a multi-club model, which I've seen a lot of people with the problem that we would clearly be the second club to Roma, or that is the belief in a multi-club system. But the big advantage of the multi-club system is the simple fact that, well, it's people who already know how to run a football club, and that's the problem we've had ever since Moshiri's come in. That we've had people who have no idea how to run a football club, or the people that do know have constantly had people like Moshiri or the super agent Kia, I can't pronounce his last name, have had them in the way of being able to make smart business moves. So I think it's good to have people in that know what they're doing, who know how to run a football club, and more importantly, know what's at stake with, relegation and things like that. And hopefully an owner who will put the money in if needed to get us out there and to help us climb up the league. We have seen them bring in the Friedkin Group, bring in a big name manager like Mourinho to try and get the fans on side. Hopefully they aren't going to do that with Everton. I do think they've learned from that mistake, and I can imagine Sean Dyche would stay, especially with the lack of real big name managers that would join Everton right now anyway. So I don't see anything like that, some silly move. But Friedkin wouldn't be the top of my list, don't get me wrong, but he'd definitely be nowhere near the bottom. He would be towards the top. Again, having someone who actually knows how to run a football club, and someone who will probably let the people in the football club do their job, again, it's much better than someone who's not going to put any money into the club, has plummeted us into debt, and really doesn't know what he's doing. So in the end, Friedkin coming in is an overall improvement for the club. And yeah, more news will be coming out in the next coming days about Friedkin, and hopefully can get some insight from some Roma fans on how Friedkin has been with their club. But moving on, of course, is the Jared Branthwaite stuff. This comes from David Ornstein. Man United bid $35 million for Jared Branthwaite. This is deemed unacceptable and is said to be rejected in due course. Everton believe Branthwaite is happy at the club and would require a much higher fee to consider sale. It's stupid. We know Branthwaite's worth at least double that, and Man United have basically come in with a handshake and a Mars bar as their offer. You know, I think we should repair the thing by coming in and offering £5 for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and United pays full wages while he plays for the club, because I think that would genuinely be just as insulting as offering that much for Branthwaite. Joe Thomas also mentioned that Everton are said to reject the £35 million bid, but it would include £8 million in add-ons. I don't care. I do not care. The minimum, I think it should be minimum, is 65 all up front. And then 10 million in add-ons, maybe 15 million in add-ons if we're lucky. But yeah, Man United have no intention of bidding as high as 70 million for Jarrad Branthwaite. That comes from the Telegraph. Okay then. I think it's really hard to offer some real detailed insight on this, because it's a simple fact is, okay then, don't pay the money, we're not going to sell you him. If he's happy to stay at the club, we don't want him to leave anywhere. I think it is just as simple as that, to be completely honest with you. Don't pay the money, you don't get him. It's the same way Brighton have operated. It's the same way the teams like Brentford operate. They operate smart. There will be room for negotiation, I can imagine, but I mean, they're probably close to around 60, 65 million. But yeah, I don't see a planet where we should be selling to United if they're just trying to lowball us, in a sense of offering half the money they paid for Harry Maguire, offering half the money they paid for Anthony, the same, less money than they paid for Donny van de Beek. You know, they can say this is... United fans, I understand that, are going to come from the concept of this is the new United, we're not going to get scammed anymore. Okay then. I think it's that simple. I think a lot of the United fans is just a bunch of children on Twitter who are sat crying that they're not getting their own way, that they're not allowed to bully the smaller clubs in the league. Unfortunately, that's how it works now. You don't pay our money, you don't get him. And United fans a lot of them are like to say, oh, well, you're going to get points deducted. I'd rather lose 4 points than give them Jarrad Branthwaite, even for 70 million, to be honest with you. But moving on to some news about the way that we may not have to sell Branthwaite. Arsenal have inquired about the availability of Everton midfielder Amadou Onana. Arsenal's interested in Onana has potential to be a significant blow to Man United's pursuit of Jarrad Branthwaite. A sale before June would be helpful to Everton's PSR position. That comes from Joe Thomas. And Aston Villa have also inquired about Amadou Onana. That's from the Times. There's also links to other clubs like Bayern Munich. I think I saw PSG, Barcelona. So I do see it being likely that Onana's the player that'll leave, and with links giving us to Wilfred Ndidi on a free. And I think Onana's a much easier player to replace than Jarrad Branthwaite. To be completely honest with you, I think breaking up that defensive partnership that had us, I think, top 5 for defences in the Premier League last season, I think it'd be a silly move to do, to be completely honest. And I think losing Onana, I think we can replace that. I think we can replace that technical ability in midfield. I think it'd be hard for us, a team like us, to find that blend of power and technical ability for a decent price, but I think we'd have a much easier time replacing Onana. And we did pay for like 40 million euros for him, so getting at least £50 million, making a decent sum of profit, nothing huge, but a decent little bit of profit on the way out would be good for the club. But that is all the news we have for today. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow the Toffee Blues on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed and at the Toffee Blues, and follow me on Twitter at Callum 3. And I will see you all for the next video that I'm on. Goodbye, everyone.